Everything you believe about who you are, the I am story you've been telling yourself for 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years is keeping you stuck. It is the very lie that you've repeated so much that you actually believe it's true. Well, I'm just someone who blank. I'm just an introvert. I just do things this way. That story, that belief is now creating what you believe about yourself, the thoughts that you think, and the actions that you take. And that internal decision, that internal identity is creating your external world. At the root of every manifestation, technique, law, principle is identity. The story of who you are is the very thing in the way of everything you desire. As someone who has completely changed my life multiple times, who has spent the last 90 days quantum leaping in rapid speed, 3x my income, 10x my following, and have created more flow, abundance, clarity than I've had in my entire life, I really need you to understand that the identity that you are holding on to for dear life is the very thing in the way of that life that you keep writing on your vision board. Every single day we have millions of thoughts. Those thoughts are based on our identity, our worldview. As you are listening to this video and every other video that you've ever listened to, every other podcast, every friend conversation you've ever had, you are taking in that information through an identity that you have curated over years of repeating the same thoughts, beliefs, and thereby actions over and over again, so much so that you believe that this is you. And I want to help you shatter that one I am at a time. If you're new here, my name is Tanya Bravo. I am obsessed with identity-driven transformation to help you step into the life, the work, the fulfillment that is literally waiting for you on the other side. Almost 15 years ago, I became conscious of my inner world and how it was actually creating the external world that was causing me anxiety, depression, and all of the feelings that I did not want. That inner world that told me I'm shy, I'm an introvert, I'm not good enough, I have to wait to speak, that I'm not welcome to take up space. That identity could not be the identity that is in front of you on your screen right now. The reason that my life has changed in rapid speed in a little over 10 years is because I decided to let go of the I am story that was keeping me small. And today I want to invite you to do the same. You have an I am story right now that is running the background of your life, and it is creating your external reality. That I am story is both what you say out loud, but more importantly, it's what you say to yourself. When you look at yourself in the mirror, when you're washing the dishes, when you're taking a shower, there is an I am loop that is running in the background. Even as you're listening to me right now, there is a story that you're making up about me, about yourself, that is not rooted on pure truth, but rooted on the lens, the identity that you hold about yourself first. If you take away all of the roles that you hold, if you were not a mom, a wife, a brother, a sister, a friend, who are you and where did that belief come from? If you've ever been around a kid before they're 4 years old, you will see this in real time. Kids, when they come into a room, when a baby walks into a room, crawls into a room, they are not worried about what you think about them. They are not worried about your perception of them. They're not even worried about you. They are so clear on who they are. They are so anchored in the truth of their true identity. They have no limitation. They have no belief of what is or is not possible. They are fully in their element. And then life hits us and we start to be told who we are, who we aren't, what we can and cannot do. And that story runs the loop of the background of our lives until we decide to interrupt the thought pattern. And this is your invitation right now to interrupt that pattern. I recently saw a quote that said something like, our brains will choose a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. Do you know what that means? Every single day, there's a part of you that is choosing a familiar hell, something that you don't want, but it's comfortable. It creates safety because it's a pattern that you've lived for so long that you would rather choose that pattern over an unfamiliar heaven, something that feels unsafe because it's new, it's unknown, you don't know how the story ends. But on the other side of that is everything you could ever desire. And to bridge that gap, to go from moving from choosing your familiar hell day in, day out, to choosing an unfamiliar heaven, you have got to get clear on the identity story that is running your entire life. When you decide to change on an identity level, let's look at this, right? So we've got our identity, we've got our I am story. That I am story tells me what you believe about yourself, what you believe about who you are, what you will and won't do, where your place is in this world, and what the world around you represents. Those beliefs then anchor into the thoughts that you're thinking even as you're watching this very video. Those thoughts then anchor into the actions that you do or don't take each day, and thereby the skills that you create create, the experiences that you do and don't get to experience, the opportunities that you do and don't miss out on. Your identity is everything. We spend years waiting for someone to invite us for permission to take up space, to own our voice, to be anchored and rooted in the power and truth of who you really are, not the lies and stories that have been placed on you for years and years that you've repeated so much internally that you now believe them as truths. But this work where we get to shift our internal world so that our external world cannot help but catch up, does not have to be rooted in the old story. You get to create a new story as soon as right now as you're listening to my words. As you're listening to me right now, I want you to pay attention to what you're thinking about yourself, to what you're thinking about me. Everything that you're thinking is through your current worldview. But here's what I need us to know. All of us have a view like this. You're not even seeing everything outside of that worldview. When you listen to me, when you listen to someone else, you are taking in that information through your worldview lens that is rooted in your identity, your beliefs, your thoughts, your actions, and thereby your current external reality. That is all a lie. That is all made up. Here is what I need you to get. This is a game, y'all. This is a game that you get to play. I want you to decide today that this all gets to be fun, that you do get to be, do, and have absolutely everything you desire because you do. The process of rewriting my internal world to create my external world has been the most beautiful and yet deepest, most challenging work I have ever done because it required me to become conscious of the story that's been running in the background for so many years, the story that we all have playing, and that story cannot come with us where we are going. You think that you're describing yourself, but you're actually creating your future. This is your opportunity to stop the pattern, to stop the repeat button, and start creating a new identity. Who you were before pushing play on this video is not who you have to be by the time that we finish here. Your subconscious does not know the difference between truth and repetition. It only knows what you keep repeating it, and thereby what you keep physically manifesting externally. So how do we break this pattern? First, you need to understand who is the narrator. One of the biggest things that I've learned through this work and that I work on my clients on is understanding that you are not your thoughts. When you say, I'm stressed, I'm overwhelmed, I'm not good enough, that is not you. Those are thoughts that you are thinking. But who is the one observing those thoughts? That is the true you. So where did the thoughts come from? That is the first question you need to ask yourself. Is this my thought or is this the thought of someone else? Is this someone else's voice or belief that is playing in the background of my entire life? Once you've identified the narrator, you have to start to catch those thoughts. You have to start to install the new identity and new beliefs that are aligned with the truth of who you really are. The version of you that came into this world who knew that you did not need to be, do, or have anything to be completely whole and complete. Over the last 10 years, I have had to break through multiple familiar hells. And let me tell you, it is the easiest and hardest thing that you will ever do because it is familiar. And so there is comfort. And when you go to unfamiliar, your familiar self is not going to come in ease and joy. They are going to go out kicking and screaming. And so that old self that says that you have to prove your work, that you need to work hard to create success, that you don't get to take up space, that version of you is not going to like it when you start to go against the program that you have been installing for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. It may not have started with you. You could have seen someone else mirror it. Someone else could have said or done something to you, but you have kept the program repeating year after year after year. While you do not have any control over what someone does or doesn't do to you, you do have control over what you do with that after. And this is your opportunity to get into that hardwire, to get into that programming and start to shift the I am story that is running your entire life. If there was one thing that I could have understood 15 years ago, it would be this understanding that who I thought I was made up of repeated beliefs, thoughts, and thereby actions that were mirroring my external reality. And once I got in there and I shifted the internal dialogue, the internal story that then shifted the beliefs, thoughts, the actions, my external world could not help but catch up. Let me give you an example of this. I recently shared that I did a 90-day quantum leap where I 3x my income, I 10x my following, I built a mobile app in 3 weeks that now has over 5,000 users on it, and I changed my life in the best way possible, all by anchoring into a new I am story. Now, here's what you don't see behind those wins is the moments where I had every old I am story, belief, fear, identity pop up. Who are you to think that you can do this? No one wants to hear from you. You are annoying them. You're too much. This is silly. You're not good enough. This is for other people. You're not smart enough. You're not capable enough. You don't know how to do this. All of those I ams came to the forefront because I was pushing myself into an unfamiliar heaven. And that familiar hell was like, we're not going out with a fight. And it was so uncomfortable. And many days I was overcome by the old identity and I found myself being pulled back, but because my external world hadn't yet caught up. And so I had every reason to believe all of the old stories that told me, you can't do this. You're not smart enough. You're not good enough. You're not this type of personality. You're too much. This is not going to work for you. This works for other people. Those stories, those thoughts, those beliefs could not come with me to be on your screen right now. And what I am telling you and what I tell all of my clients is that when you go to break through what you've always done, and more importantly, who you've been for almost your entire life, it will be painful, not physically painful. It will feel like there is a literal death because there is a part of you that wants to hold on so tightly because that is the worldview that has kept you safe for so many years. But here is what I need you to know. If you are willing to go through that process, to let that old you go, to grieve the old you, to thank that version of you for what they contributed and let them know that where you're going, they just can't come anymore. What is on the other side is more magical than I can possibly convey in a 20-minute YouTube video. I'm going to give you an example of this. This past month, I locked in. I decided that instead of creating an external Delulu reality of increasing my income or increasing my following that I'd done in the months prior, I was going to shift how I wanted to feel internally. I decided that I want to feel ease. I want to feel in flow. I want to feel supported. And guess what? As someone who has spent more than 20, 30 plus years proving my worth, that working hard was how I got validation and success and self-worth, that was the most uncomfortable, hardest Delulu sprint I have ever created for myself. If you don't know what a Delulu sprint, it is where I lock in for 30 days and decide that I am not asking how, I'm becoming the who. I do these 10 things every single day to keep me in the embodiment, in the energy of the version of myself who already is, has, and does everything I desire. And in this case, that version of me was the free, supported, in ease, and in flow. That was so opposite from the old identity who has to work hard, who has to struggle, who doesn't have it as easy as other people. But that's story, that identity, those limitations that at a certain point were simply self-imposed could not come with me to the other side. And on week 3, I almost gave up, y'all. This was the hardest month ever. And of course, the month that I decide to step into ease and flow becomes the hardest month ever because my old identity is like, no, don't leave us here. You need us. You need this story that you have to work hard, that things don't get to be easy, that it has to be a struggle. And I persisted. I persisted in ease and flow. And it was so challenging. And I had a breakthrough on week 3 where I finally realized that my self-identity had been rooted in needing to prove my worth through hard work. And once I got that that was a story that I'd just been repeating for so many years and decades that now it was believed to be true, and I could let that go. And as painful as it felt in the moment, it simply was a choice, a decision to let that go. Everything else opened up for me. My life, my work, my business started to actually mirror the internal ease, flow, support that I was curating internally. This is the same exact process I've gone through to create external monetary wins, business wins, family, friend wins. It is the same process. There is a story right now that is not in alignment with the version of you who already is, has, and does that thing. And until you are willing to let go of that story, that you're not good enough, that you're not smart enough, that you're not witty enough to be on camera, to create a YouTube channel, to create a business, that you cannot come with you where you desire to go. And so you have to let that go. The story that, oh, it's only for those types of people, or it's only for the ones that are on YouTube. Guess what? I wasn't on YouTube a year ago. I had to decide that I had something of value to offer that wasn't just me working hard and proving my work. It was just me authentically sharing the truth of my story, the truth of my passion, the truth of how I know that my inner world is now creating my external world in the best way possible because I am in control of what happens in here. This work has completely changed my life. I run a community called The Shift where we focus on identity-driven transformation. We focus on the tiny shifts that create massive external transformation. And we have over 200 women in this incredible community who get to do this work in real time. And it is so amazing because just to see how people shift over time, people comment on how I have shifted in the last 6 months. People have commented, I have noticed how others in the community have shifted. And it is wild to see how much we want to hold on to that familiar hell because it's a story. And if you have to let go of that story of who you are, then the question becomes, who am I without it? And that, my friends, can be the most terrifying yet beautiful journey that you will ever go on in your entire life. It is never too late. You were never too young. You were never too old. You are never too much to decide to create a new story of who you are and what your life gets to become on the other side. If this video resonated with you in any way, I would love nothing more than to hear from you in the comments. I would love to know what your takeaway was. This was not scripted. This is just me sharing passionately about how much the I am story and shifting that has changed my world in the best way possible. If you want to go deeper into this work, you can join us in the Shift community. Use the link below to save $10 off your first month. It is the #1 place for identity-driven transformation. And if you really want to go deep, I'm going to be opening up my inner circle for January. You can click the link below to apply. I cannot wait to see you on the next video. I hope that this was helpful for you. And thank you as always for being here.